learners, welcome to Education Online. This is Madam Regina teaching you biology for Senior 3 and Senior 4. Our topic is about the structures of respiratory system in frogs. So frog is one of the vertebrates because we have been looking at the respiratory system in the vertebrates. We started with the structures of respiratory system in human being, which represent the class of Mammalia. Then we look at the respiratory system in fish. From there we proceeded to the respiratory system in birds. So lastly, today we are looking at the structures of respiratory system in frogs. So we can see this a sketch of the frog. Generally, frog has three respiratory surface that are used for exchanging gas with their surrounding. Three respiratory surface for exchanging gases with the surroundings or the environment. So these respiratory surface are: number one, the skin; number two, the lungs; number three, the lining of the mouth. Lining of the mouth. These are the three respiratory surfaces for exchanging air with the surroundings. So therefore, the structures of the respiratory system in frogs are: we start by skin. Number one is the skin. So when we look at the skin of the frog, the skin of the frog is made up of a thin membranous tissue. The skin is made up of thin membranous tissue. At the same time, the skin is quite permeable for water and air. So this skin is well equipped with a network of blood vessels. Network of blood vessels. The skin of the frog is characterized by having thin membranous tissue, and at the same time it is well equipped with the network of blood vessels. So the skin allows the gas exchange between the blood vessels and the environment. Therefore, when the frog is out of the water, it allows gas exchange between the blood vessels and the environment or the surrounding. When it is in the water, we know very well that water contains oxygen, dissolved oxygen there. So that oxygen can dissolve through this skin because it is very thin and permeable. It can permit or can allow the exchange of water and the gases. Even if it is out of the water, we find frog has a mucus gland in the skin. Even if the frog is out of the water, it's still the skin containing what? Mucus glands. These mucus glands keep the body or the skin moist. Keeps the skin moist. Why the skin should be moist? Because that water allows the oxygen to dissolve. So when the oxygen from the air dissolves, the gas can be exchanged through the skin by or between the vessels and the surroundings. That's why he said, therefore, when the frog is out of the water, mucus gland in the skin keep the frog moist to absorb dissolved oxygen from the air. Number 2, the structure number 2 is the nostril. Here. Nostril. So nostrils serve as air passage because air passes through nostril to the lungs. The air passes through nostril to the lungs. And we should observe that the frog, the lung is not surrounded by ribs or diaphragm like in the human being. No ribs or diaphragm. So the lungs in frog is not surrounded by ribs or diaphragm the way we saw in the human being. Let's come to see the third structure of the respiratory system in frog, mouth. Number 3 is mouth. Mouths serve as surface for having lining on it. It's another respiratory surface because it contains lining. So the floor of its mouth causing the throat to expand. Then the nostril open to allow air enter to the mouth. Then the nostril close and the air in the mouth is forced into the lung by the contraction of the floor of the mouth. That means this is how the air is drawn into the body of the frog. here the frog lowers the floor of its mouth. It lowers the floor of its mouth, making like that. That one to allow what? The throat to expand. The frog lowers the floor of its mouth. When the floor of the mouth is lowered down, that causing what? Causing the throat to expand. At the same time, the nostrils are open to allow air enter to the mouth. So then the nostril close and the air in the mouth is forced into the lungs. Then the nostrils close, then the air in the mouth pushed into the lungs. This one through the contraction of the floor of the mouth. The floor of the mouth contracts itself so that can force the air to reach the lungs of the frog. So the fourth structure of respiratory system in frog is the lungs. Number 4. Before I could wrap this, the third structure of respiratory system in the frog is the mouth. So here the frog will lower the floor of its mouth, causing the throat to expand. At the same time, the nostrils are open to allow air enter. So, to allow air enter to the mouth. Then when the nostril is closed, the air in the mouth is pushed into the lungs through the contraction of the floor. Through the contraction of the floor of the mouth. So now the air reached the lungs, which is the fourth structure of the respiratory system in the frog. Number 4, lungs. This is where gas exchange takes place. Gas exchange occur. So when the air reaches the lungs, then the oxygen in that air will diffuse into the blood to be carried to the whole of the body. So when that oxygen is exhausted, then the carbon dioxide in the lung is eliminated. How does frog eliminate carbon dioxide? Elimination of carbon dioxide. Because the oxygen was already taken through the mouth to the lungs, then from there it diffuses into the blood to be carried to the whole body. After having exhausted the oxygen, the carbon dioxide need to be sent out of the body or to be eliminated. So here in elimination, again the frog will move down the floor of the mouth to draw the air out of the lungs. It moves the mouth down, moving down the floor of the mouth. The frog moves down the floor of its mouth. To draw the air out of the lungs. So when it moves the floor of the mouth down and the air is drawn from the lungs into the mouth, then the air is drawn into the mouth. So at this time, the nostril will start opening itself. So the nostril open, nostrils will open, because this is how it pushes the air out of the body. After drawing the air from the lungs, then it reaches the mouth. When it reaches the mouth, then the nostrils are open and the floor of the mouth move up. We're reaching to the air reaching to the mouth, the nostrils are open, then the floor of the mouth moves up. Then the floor of the mouth moves up, pushing out, pushing the air out of the body through nostril, pushing the air out of the body through nostrils. So this is how the gas exchange takes place in the lungs, in the frog. So when we look at the respiratory system in animals, they differ somehow in their structures. But despite all these differences in their respiratory system, their respiratory system have some common characteristics. So let's look at these common characteristics found in the respiratory system of different animals. we say despite the differences in the respiratory system, despite the differences in the respiratory system of animal, the respiratory system, they share some common characteristics. Characteristic number 1, a large capillary network. Having large capillary network. Yes. The surface where the gas where the gas are exchanged, normally it is surrounded by the network of blood capillaries, because the oxygen in the air drawn into the lungs will get diffused into the blood stream to be carried to the rest of the body. At the same way, the carbon dioxide, which is not needed by the body, diffuses out of the blood stream to the lungs to be sent out. So in these 4 types of vertebrates we talk about, the human being, the frog, the birds, and fish, there's gas exchange. Normally, the surface where gas are exchanged is well equipped with blood capillaries. The second characteristic is gas exchange surface are thin and moist. Gas exchange surface normally thin and moist. The respiratory surfaces in animal, normally they are thin and they are membranous. At the same time, you find them very moist. Why is it always moist? Because for the oxygen to get diffused, it needs to be dissolved in water. Then from there can be absorbed by the tissue. And it needs to be thin so that it becomes what? Permeable. The third characteristic, the constant renewal of oxygen rich fluid or air. In order to provide oxygen and remove carbon dioxide. is the third characteristic that is shared by animals, although they have some differences in their respiratory system. You find the animals, they renew the air from time to time. That means they take in oxygen and they send out carbon dioxide. They take in oxygen, they send out carbon dioxide. So for the oxygen to be provided, they should renew the air drawn into the body. When it is drawn, then oxygen is exhausted, the carbon dioxide is sent out. Again, another air is taken in for the oxygen to be diffused into the blood capillaries and carried into the body and sending out the carbon dioxide. This is what meant by, or in a short form, we can say the gas exchange. So this is what they share in their respiratory system, the gas exchange taking place always. That's a renewal of the oxygen-rich fluid or oxygen-rich air. Thanks. We are done with our lesson of today. We meet next time.